You are now listening to Marie Messages Podcast, a podcast where we break down the realities of self-care, coming with nothing but honesty and transparency. Now your host, J. Marie. Hey, what's going on? It is your girl, J. Marie, back for another episode of Marie Messages Podcast. In this episode, I am so excited about because I had three amazing guests on today, three people that I do know personally and have known for some years now that's coming on to discuss this topic, gender roles. So before we dig in the topic, I want to give the opportunity for the listeners to get to know my guests. So I want to start off with my guy, Jamar, Shallah, that I have known for quite some time. So introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yes, Jamar Shallah, student of Nile Valley Cultures, holistic healer, most of my family, my environment, my community, artist, songwriter, producer, right now just on a journey, enjoying my life right now with my family and making a way through this pandemic.
I know that's right. We all try to make a way through this pandemic. I'm so happy you agreed to come on the show today. Me and Jamar have known each other for quite some time. He is an old friend of mine from our college days back at Virginia Union in the early 2000s. Oh, Lord, that tells my age, Lord Jesus. All right, let's scratch that. So I want to thank you so much for coming on because I know you're going to give some great perspectives. So thanks again. So moving on, we got my girl Nikki on the line, Nicole Sierra on the line. Introduce yourself to the listeners.
Hello. My name is Nicole Sierra. I am a mother of 4 beautiful babies, a wife, 10 years. I'm an artist too. I love to sing. Music is my passion. That's like number one since I was little. And it's like my therapy. So I've been doing that for years. I was in middle management for a lot of years. And now I'm starting off on my entrepreneur journey, being a stay-at-home mom with the kids, but still bringing home the coins. So
I know that's right.
Now that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to spin off a lot of things, but I'm trying to take my time and steady pace, but still just do what I need to do as a mother first, always. Always.
I know that's right. Well, thank you, Nikki, for coming on. And last but not least, I got my biological first cousin, aka my brother from another mother, Jyron Coach Brooks on the line. Introduce yourself.
What's going on? My name is Jyron Brooks. I'm an educator, been an educator for the last 13 years in the city of Newark. I'm currently a dean of students at Newark Collegiate Academy. And like Jocelyn said, I'm also a basketball coach. I've been coaching literally since I was in college. So that's going on 15 years now. I know it's been a while, but I was also coaching young too. I was coaching a lot younger than most people would start coaching. And I'm just excited to be a part of this conversation, excited that my cousin asked me to be on this podcast. And I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. So the topic today, let's talk about gender roles. Now, before we can really dive into this conversation, what is the definition of gender roles? So in order to do that, I looked up what gender roles is defined. And a gender role, also known as a sex role, is a social role encompassing a range of behaviors and attitudes that are generally considered acceptable, appropriate, or desirable for a person based on the person's biological or perceived sex. That was a mouthful. Okay, so now that we're talking about that is how it's defined, I wanted to break out, so I'm going to show my guests for the first time these traditional gender stereotypes that I found. And I'm going to read them out loud for the listeners so we can discuss this a little further. And I would love to hear you guys' perspectives on it. So traditional gender stereotypes, we have the feminine side. Feminine is not aggressive, dependent, easily influenced, submissive, passive, home-oriented, easily hurt emotionally, indecisive, talkative, gentle, sensitive to others' feelings, very desirous of security, cries a lot, emotional, verbal, kind, tactful, and nurturing. Then on the masculine side, we have aggressive, independent, not easily influenced, dominant, active, worldly, not easily hurt emotionally, decisive, not at all talkative, tough, less sensitive to others' feelings, not very desirous of security, rarely cries, logical, analytical, cruel, blunt, and not nurturing. What do we think about these stereotypes? I'm going to start with Jaron. What you think?
That was a lot. I think for the feminine characteristics, those are characteristics that you traditionally see in like a Stepford wife, like kind of stay at home mom, based off of what you see in the entertainment circle, what you may see on TV or what you may see in movies. And I think that I would say in the last decade, women have tried really hard to like knock all of those down and say that they are the opposite of those, or they don't have to be all of those things at once. They can have some of those things, but then be able to show some characteristics that the world would say would be more masculine. And I think that the masculine traits tend to lend more to like male toxicity and very like patriarchal thinking. And I think that it's important that those have been torn down as well over the last decade, because I think ultimately if you have young men looking at that list and saying that they need to be those things, they end up turning into broken. And it's just interesting that like that was the list that was up there, because of course they're stereotypes, but they're like so stereotypical of a culture that we may not be involved in, or we may not be indulged in. So it was interesting, but also to be expected.
Okay. Did you want to chime in, Nikki?
I agree with him a lot.
You do?
But like he said, the feminine side, we're not all of that, especially now. Like maybe back in the past, but I'll say from our generation down, it's not going down like that. It's not. We're not like that. And the men, they're changing as well. They're not all overly aggressive, and they show their emotions now. They talk more. So I think it's changed a lot from, I guess, when those stereotypes were put together. I think it's really different now.
Okay. What about you, Jamar?
I think it's a lot what Jyron said. It's like real Stepford wife-ish, especially for the feminine side. That's real outdated. That's like 50s. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I can't name any women in my bloodline that held all of those characteristics, right? I mean, obviously everybody is equal on both sides. I think, it doesn't matter, and I'll probably be jumping the gun, but, it doesn't necessarily matter what gender you hold. You hold both masculine and feminine properties. So that right there to say, oh, this is just the feminine characteristics and these are just the masculine characteristics is crazy outdated. I think more so on the male side is more of a change than it is on the feminine side. Like I said, I can't necessarily name any women in my family, in my community, that have been all the way submissive and all the way home, like just focus on home oriented and things like that. Like there's things that I've seen in my community that would just shatter that feminine side to shreds. But on the male side, I have seen where males are now tapping in more to a quote unquote feminine side and being a little more emotional, more understanding, more home oriented, right? At some point we have to change the narrative, and a lot of it is coming along, and it's us the men is really trying to play catch up with the women, you know what I mean? Because the women really have been the backbone for so many centuries. So yeah.
Okay. That was good. I wanted to bring that up too, because when I saw that, I didn't agree with it either. in its entirety. And I wanted to bring that up just to pretty much break the ice and give people an idea of what gender roles are. So since we discuss what type of gender roles and stereotypes there are when it comes to this topic, I wanted to dig into, before we get into gender roles and relationships, I wanted to just touch base on gender roles in the workplace. Um, we've all had jobs and we've all worked in some type of either office setting or whatever, where it's different. It's different for men compared to women. We know it's definitely different between white people and black people. We know that. That's a topic for another day because we can stay there forever. We're not going to touch that right now. But when it comes to gender, you always hear about in the workplace how women are treated differently than men, how men can grow within the job quicker than a woman, how men are paid more than a woman. Has any of you experienced any of that? Do you agree with that? Do you think that's factual? What you think, Nicole?
So it kind of was equal for me. It was equal. Like what was required of a man was required of the woman. Like I'll say in the supervisor area, the men did kind of come off as I'm taking the lead. I'm doing this, and they might push off things that they didn't want to do to the women, like kind of like being manipulative a little bit. But for the most part, payment is equal. As long as you did the job that you're working, like you moved up. So it's not really, it wasn't a gender thing where I came from in the workplace.
Okay, and Jamar, what do you think?
It's a bit of a mix because in my previous experience, the people that were in charge, most of them were the women. Now, if we're talking about the company as a whole, from the top down, obviously a lot of them are going to be CEOs, and it's just unfortunate how it is now. You're seeing a little bit of a change now where women are becoming more CEOs in this country, but at least in my personal experience, a lot of women were in leadership roles. However, at the same time, like Nicole said, the guys does come with this little braggadocious kind of machismo kind of mentality. Sometimes that's to be expected, especially when they got a lot of testosterone, right? They come with that alpha male mentality, alpha male aura. But in terms of pay, I can't necessarily say for sure because that's not something I discuss openly. I don't discuss my pay with people, and they don't necessarily discuss with me. But I hear it. You know what I mean? So I can't deny that it has happened. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You wanted to chime in, Jyron?
In the educational field, I kind of see things a little differently, especially with pay because things go on scale. Kind of like know where everybody is, be it male or female, it doesn't matter. It really matters about like your credentials and what you've done and how long you've been there. The other thing I will say is that like I've had a few different principals from the time I started teaching to like the current role that I'm in now, and I tend to always work best with female principals. And I think it's because, especially with what Jamar said, sometimes when, especially for the role that I serve in my schools, having a male principal, you might have like that alpha male battle of like, even though you have this effect, this is still my school. This is what, I'm running it how I want to run it. But for some reason, with a female principal, I've never actually encountered that. I think it was easier for me because of my background, like having my mother, my aunts all be strong women. My grandmother is like the matriarch of our family, like she kind of holds things together. So because my view of women has always been different from the time that I've been young, I think it's transitioned into the workplace where it's actually been easier for me to have a woman as my boss. which a lot of men will be like, I don't want a woman telling me what to do in the workplace. When for me, it's actually been easier. And I think it's because, being in that school environment, in that educational environment, it almost fosters that.
Well, I don't like I don't like working for women. It's the truth. I do not like working for a woman, okay? And always being in an executive assistant role, I've worked for women, I've worked for men, and I prefer to work for a man. And it's just that whole cattiness that I feel like women are always in competition with each other. I think women, from my experience in higher levels, look down on other women if they're not on their level, as well as men too. And this is what I've seen. So I do think the gender roles in the workplace has shifted, because you always did see like if you go into the hospital, you would think that every woman you see with scrubs on was the nurse, or that type of thing. But nowadays there's a lot of physicians that are women. There are men who are nurses, so it definitely has shifted over time. So I just wanted to just get you guys perspectives when it came to in the workplace. But I know my listeners really want to talk about the nitty and the gritty, and that's the relationships.
Hey, you. Yeah, you listening to Marie Messages podcast. Don't forget to click the link and check out the merch store. We got nothing but the best merch out there. Get your hoodies, get your mugs, get your t-shirts, get your sweatshirts. Make sure you check us out. Now back to the show.
We all like talking about relationships and love and all that good stuff. And, I'm here to represent the single women. I'm here to represent all the single ladies. And I am unmarried. Hint, hint. DM is open. But Nicole, on the other hand, is not. She is off the market. She has been married for 10 years now? 10 years, a very long time. And we are all millennials, so we come from the same generation. Jamar is married. Jyron is not. I want to talk about relationships, gender roles and relationships. I will start it off I am the eldest of 2 children. My parents are still together, been married for 36 years. So I had that image in my mind of what a relationship should look like based off of what I see with my parents. Thank God I had them as my blueprint, because if I looked at what I've seen out here these days, I probably would not even desire marriage and things of that nature. And I know that is something that a lot of women feel from conversations that I've had with other women that are single who does not, look forward to marriage or even relationships because of, situationships and side chicks and all this type of stuff that's going on these days, So I want to jumpstart this. I got to start with Jamal because, he's one of the fellas and he's married. I want to know. I need to know from him first. Let's start with him. Then we're gonna go to Nicole. But we got to start with him.
Okay.
Please tell us what made you do it. What is your perspective on marriage, on relationships, and what role do you play as a husband, and what role does your wife play?
Okay, so I think my perspective on marriages or relationships, period, do what works for you. But I think we have become a very lax culture, a lackadaisical people. And I say that by meaning when you go on a job interview, you present your best self. You tell them what they expect. You tell them where you've been, where you're going, what your plans are. And then with relationship, it's just like, my name is Jamar Shallah. I'm from Plainfield. I'm 30-some years old. I'm a Scorpio. And that's it. There's no expectation of what's the next move. What are you into? What makes you click? That's what my wife and I did before we even started dating. Like, yo, this is what I like. All right, look, I just got a relationship. I was married. When I met you, I wasn't necessarily looking for a relationship, but I like you. This is who I am. I'm a strong guy. I'm African. I'm raised by a family full of Panthers, so I'm unapologetic about who I am. I'm loud spoken. I'm passionate, but at the same time, I'm still a guy. So what does that mean? If I see something beautiful, I'm gonna look at it, but it's a way you look at it. That you don't be disrespectful. And in fact, my wife, because of that, fast forward, I can tell her like, yo, look at that. She beautiful, right? Yeah. She'll point it out to me. Yeah, you see her? And she'll nudge me and all that because we broke that ice, right? There's no reason for her to be jealous or insecure about her spot because she knew who I was beforehand and she knows I'm not going to violate. You know what I mean? Like, she knows I'm not going to step outside of what we built, and just wreck everything. Like, literally, our first conversation was about foundation. Literally, foundation, how you build the house. You can't build the house without the foundation. As soon as that foundation cracks, it's over. You have to rebuild the whole house. You know what I mean? So, my perspective on gender roles in relationships, it's tough because I don't necessarily agree with gender roles in relationships. I think that each other should where somebody is weak, you pick up and you show your strength, right? Whereas I'm good at organizing and I'm good at memorizing certain things and keeping track. My wife, on the other hand, is good at bookkeeping. Not my strong suit. I'm the primary source of income. So, when my primary source of income, she's teaching our son. Our son is homeschooled. So I can't, in my 10-hour day, stop and school him. You know what I mean? So she has that thing she does. I have my thing. We both equally share the cleaning in the house. She's not the only person that cleans. She does the bulk of the cooking now, whereas before I was the one cooking everything. You know what I mean? Like breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, 3-quarter. I'm not talking like out the box, Alfredo and all that. I'm talking from scratch meals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because of our lifestyle. So, excuse me, our lifestyle with vegan. So, just we share a lot of responsibilities. And I don't think that it's incumbent on everybody to be that way. Like I said, do what works for you. But me specifically, I don't necessarily agree with, oh, this is the wife. She does the cooking and the cleaning. This is the guy. He is always the primary source of income. That's how it is now. It could change in a couple years. And I mean, our son go to a different type of school. She might do something else career-wise. We both bring in the income. You know what I mean? That's the goal. Like, we just going to build together. But that whole gender roles and relationships, I think that's a very outdated system. Again, real 50s mentality. I love Lucy like. We don't live that. We don't do that.
Okay. Nikki, what you think?
I agree with a lot of what he said. For one, I'll say this. I recommend therapy before you even talk about marriage. I recommend that 100%. Like you said, you have to put it on the table what your expectations are, because if you jump into a relationship and you don't say what you want and he don't say what he wants, then you jump in and now it's a whole mess because your expectations are in one spot and it's not going the way you thought it was, and then vice versa. So that's a big thing for me. Communication is huge. Me and my husband, we've been battling about communication for years. Like, he's very introverted when it comes to his feelings. I'm very outspoken. Like, if I feel a certain way, I'm saying it, period. And it's not to start an argument, and he always thought that, like, oh, you want to argue? I'm like, no, I don't want to argue, because regardless of what you say that I might not like, I respect your honesty. And that's all I'm saying is I want to know how you feel, so then we move from there. When it comes to, like, the house roles, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little spoiled just a little bit. So, like, sometimes I'm like, garbage, that's on you, bro. Like, I need you to do that. Like,
I feel you.
I'm not trying to get my hands dirty. You want me to cook all the time, I'm gonna need you to do that. But like, he's stepped into the kitchen as well. Like, he's been cooking more. Like, he does the laundry. That he likes that. So like Jamar said, like, it do what's best for you guys. What's best for us is he like to do the laundry. Go ahead, I'm all for that. One chore that I had when I was younger that I hated, but I did it all the time, was cleaning the bathrooms and stuff like that. So I'm like, if I see it, I'm just cleaning it up. So by the time I'm mad that I had to do it, it's already done. So it's a lot of things that you kind of just, he does. He's really good with saving. I'm really not. But I pay the important bills first, and then I go on my spree. But like, we kind of complement each other, and that's what you want in a relationship. But sometimes people have to realize that marriage is not for play. Like, marriage is not for the weak. Like, it's a battle every single day. It's a choice. Because you're not going to be in love all the time. Because people think that, like, oh, it's the movies and it's fairy tale. I thought that. And I got slapped in the face, like, no, sis, calm down. It's not always going to be like that. It's going to be a fight sometimes. And like, it was a time period where I was the breadwinner, and now he's the breadwinner. He makes more money than me, but it will shift. So it's like, are you willing to deal with that? Because some women don't want to deal with that. Some men don't want to deal with certain things. They don't want to take care. No, you got to go to work too. Like, that's how they feel. But he knows that now we're in a pandemic. I'm home with the kids. He doesn't have to worry about if something's going to happen, or who's going to pick up the kids, or are they at risk for anything? Because I'm home with them, and we both feel comfortable with us taking that on and not having to put it on somebody else to take care of them, because it's serious out here. We lost a child, so that was another deep thing. Like, to deal with a lot of emotional things together, like, it's hard because a lot of men, I'm not going to be stereotypical, but they're used to dealing with it on their own, and they want to keep it in, and they don't want to talk about it, and they're battling a lot of things, and we kind of could be hard on them, but I realize, like, as long as I watch how I talk to them, because they're big on respect. They may not say it, but they're big on respect and how you speak to them. So it's like, if you come to him correctly, he will open up, but if you come crazy, he gonna keep shutting down. So it's like, it's a lot when it comes to being in a relationship. It's a give and take. You have to be willing to give, and you have to be, what I'm saying? Like, everybody has to be able to and be willing to do their part, because it's a job. It's a job, but it's a choice every day to do it. That's just, it's work, but it can a lot of great things to come out of it.
You always hear that is work with marriage. It's work. And like I said, because I have that blueprint of my parents, I see that it's definitely work. It's a lot of compromising and give and take and sharing the load and all those type of things. But when you think of gender roles, one gender role, I know it's stereotypical, but I'm riding with it. Is that garbage? Okay. I'm riding with that thing. Like, I hate it. Now that I'm single, okay, I'm lying. Sometimes I'll call my father to come to my apartment just to take my garbage out, because I dread taking the garbage out. I will get a neighbor. I just hate it. So I'm going to keep that gender role alive. Listen, men, take the garbage out. Okay. J. Marie says, take the garbage out. Okay. All right. I'm done. Go, Jyron.
And we've been in a relationship for a really long time, and that shit is work. It is work. Similar to what you guys said, I think that the foundation of our relationship is our relationship does not need to look like everyone else's. We have to figure out what works for us and what doesn't work for us. For example, as you can attest, I love cooking. So I cook all the time. My girlfriend does not cook at all. She says she can cook. I'll never know, because I'll be the one doing the cooking. And she's okay with that. She says, you cook, even though you do like to clean. She said, I will clean because that's my contribution to where we live and how we live. And I think that having those honest conversations is really the core of any good relationship, especially if you're having conversations and you don't like what the other person is saying. and knowing that like that is okay. I'm not saying this to hurt your feelings, but I would rather tell you the truth now than tell you a lie and then have to live that lie and not be able to do that. And I think that because we have those conversations and we unpack things together, it makes it easier to go through those rough times, knowing that at the end of the day, we're still friends. And not only are we still friends, but we're both trying to achieve the same goal. Now, even with me saying that, though, I also think that sometimes it could come across as like women want to determine what gender roles work for them and then kind of like push us into certain categories. And like I don't need you to be one way all the time. I just need consistency. Like whatever you say that you're comfortable with doing, I'm expecting you to be comfortable with you doing that until you tell me that you're not comfortable with doing that. Don't one day decide that you're not comfortable with it, but not include me on that conversation. Because then my expectations are one way, but I'm getting something different. And then that's what makes either partner, a man or a woman, feel like, oh, I'm involved in something that I didn't sign up for. I'm involved in something that I didn't agree to be with. If your truth changes, all you have to do is say that. Truth and facts are different. You know what I mean? The truth can be your truth. And we all have different truths. Facts are things that are indisputable. But your truth can change. It could change based off of something that you've gone through, a specific experience that you've had in your life, or just based off of you growing and you hearing something that enlightens you to a new way of thinking. So I think as long as that communication piece is open, because I struggle with communication too. Like my girlfriend will tell you, I'm more of a texter than like being on the phone. Or even if I am on the phone, I'd rather FaceTime you than call you. Because it's just something that I do. Or I'd rather text. It really all depends. And even being open and communicating about something that small is important. Like how do I like to communicate? And me and my girlfriend have been going out for years, and just recently we shared with each other what our love languages were.
Wow.
And when we did that, I was like, why did it take us so long to actually get to that point? But I think sometimes when you're with somebody for so long, you assume that they know how you like to receive love, and it's just not always that simple. So I'll just leave it there.
So since you brought up love languages, I read that book at least once a year, but that's not a conversation. So I just need to know, because I ain't in a relationship, so I'm literally real single. Again, DMs is open, but as far as love languages, that's not like a conversation you have out the gate. Like when you start really pursuing someone and getting to know them, like to learn how would you, and from my experience in the dating world, for me, I'm usually in long-term relationships. So my last long-term relationship, that was one of the conversations we had in the beginning, which was like, are you familiar with love languages? Because a lot of people aren't. And then once I, exposed him to that, we were able to exchange like, yes, my love language is acts of service, like take that garbage out without me telling you. You see that garbage overflowing. Don't have me have to say, can you take the garbage out? But by you just going and taking the garbage out right there, like, I love you, like for real. So like little things like that, because that's my love language. Acts of service is my love language, so I'm just curious to know, like why isn't that something that's expressed early on before? Like, how would you know if this is the person you want to be with if you don't even know if you can even love them correctly?
Well, I think the first thing you said is that a lot of people don't even know the concept of love languages. So I think that's the first thing. They have to know that thing exists. I think the second thing is that oftentimes when you're at the beginning or the inception of a relationship, you talk about things that you like, and you're naming your love languages, and you don't even realize that you're naming them. You're saying all of the things that you like in a relationship. And I think that when you get to the point where you do feel comfortable expressing what your love language is, it's important to like literally name those things and describe what those things are and how they'll make you guys compatible. Like for me and my girlfriend, for both of our love languages, quality time is last. Because we believe that like we should be able to have a life that exists outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately when we hear that like not only is quality time last, but they're last for the same reasons, we know that it will work. Because when we're not talking as much, we don't take that personal.
Got it.
We understand that, you know, I need my space, you need your space. And I think that it's important to name it and also understand what those love languages are and what they mean to you. Like, do you interpret that love language the same way that I do? And then once you agree on that, you can move forward.
That makes complete sense. But while you were talking, I was thinking about something about when it comes to sex, right? You always hear that a woman needs to be submissive, a man that has these expectations of a woman, of how they should be getting it multiple times a week, and you know, these expectations. Is that considered? I mean, I guess you can put it under a gender role because it's expected of a woman to be a certain way. Do you guys agree with that? I'm talking to the guys.
Just want to say one thing about what you just said really quick, and then Jamar can speak. Remember, one of the love languages is physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about love languages and you mention that, some girls and some guys, physical touch is not high on their list. So outside of feeling the need of like having sex, like holding hands, hugging, doing all of that stuff, that's not high on their list. That's something that needs to be talked about. And if you're not comfortable enough talking about like what your expectations are in regards to sex with your partner, that shouldn't be your partner.
Okay, I agree with that. You want to chime in, Jamal?
I don't think it's necessarily incumbent for a woman to be submissive, so to speak. Like, you know, we got to look into what that is, right? Because everybody has their own ideology on what's submissive and what it looks like for a woman to be submissive. Now, we're talking about sex, no, but just understand my love language. Like my wife knows, it doesn't always have to be sex. Let me hold you. You know what I'm saying? Let me just chill with me right here real quick. Let me hold you. I might rub on your leg a little bit or hold your arm or something like that. But it's not always gonna be about sex. Now, I would like it, right? I'm not gonna say no to it. You know, once a week, twice a week, 4 times a week, 7 times a week. Let's get it. Mm-hmm. But as long as we're in a space where we're together, you know what I mean? And at the end of the night, I can, hold you and we talk about it, talk about our day and what we want to do and just loving on each other. Like like I said, I'm a Scorpio. So I'm all about love. And my wife is a Scorpio too. We're a day apart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's a lot of love, but sometimes a lot of this too. You know what I mean? But it's mostly that's another conversation. But it's mostly disagreements more so than any other outside things, right? Ideologies. But just be next to me. You know what I'm saying? Just be with me. That's it.
Okay. Do you want to chime in? I saw you making all these faces over there, Nicole. It was like, y'all, I saw your mouth and everything.
Well, real quick, I'm good at I'm the trash guy in the house. She don't touch the trash. No gas pump, no trash.
There we go.
Yes.
2 points for Jamal. Ding.
I think that's the one thing. Like, that's just the one thing. Like, please take out that trash. I do not want to take out the trash. Like, I'll make anything you want. But love languages, I think that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. We didn't have that conversation. And I would say that the beginning stages was more of trying to impress, like, oh, let me impress her or stuff like that. And then like when it all settled, now it's like, what happened? What's up? What we doing? And so definitely the conversation needs to be had about what do you expect? What do you like? So for me, we did that recently. We spoke about our love languages, and for him, he just likes to be told, he likes affirmation, like, you did a great job, like, that was good, I appreciate that. I'm acts of service. I love when you do something that I didn't have to tell you to do. Like, that's just like, what you want? You want a cake? Like, I'll bake a cake. Like, what's up? Like, if you did that, that's what's up. And I didn't have to say anything. Like, that's a good thing. And with the physical touch, I think times, like Jamar said, times have changed. Like, it's more so sometimes the women want it more. Like, what's up? What we doing? So it's not really a gender thing when it comes to physical touch. Like, but you definitely have to learn your partner. You guys definitely have to put it on the table what it is that you want. That's a major key, because a lot of things won't transpire, that will probably break your heart or just cause friction if you just communicate. Like, I say that so much. Like, communication is key, and I don't even care if it's gonna make me cry. Just the fact that you're being honest, because if I'm sitting here thinking one thing but you're on a whole different page, that's not good. That's not good for the relationship. So I really feel like communication and, just trying to learn, like, just learn your partner as well. Learn them. Like, this one person was like, this girl just knew when I wanted to be touched. Like, that's deep. When your partner knows exactly when you want to be touched. Like, it don't have to be crazy, like just like a hug or like you said, cuddling on the couch, or just talking about your day, but just being close to each other. Like, that's a vibe. It's a vibe, and I think any relationship is good when it's like that.
Thank you. So this is a self-care podcast. So every time I select one of these topics, I always want to bring it back to self-care. So we talked about gender roles in the workplace. We talked about gender roles in relationships, what that looks like, what it doesn't look like, what it used to look like. But when we think of self-care, how can we ensure that we are still putting ourselves first, even while we are in relationships, while we are still in the workplace, without falling into these categories of these stereotypical gender roles? Like, how would you say, how would you tell me, like, Nikki, what would you tell me? Like, when it comes to being in a relationship, say, Prince Charming comes around, I'll get another ring, and what would you tell me? Because, you a vet to this. Like, what would you tell me to make sure that even though I'm in this new relationship, it's everything I ever wanted, but to not get lost in it, where I don't make sure that I keep me priority as well? What would you tell me?
Put on the calendar, like, every week, something for just you. Definitely continue to do the things you like. Don't always make it about pleasing him. Like, you definitely have to put yourself first, because if you're not good, then y'all not gonna be good. So definitely continue to do the things you like. Like, I know you like this platform. I think it's dope, and continue to do that. Don't stop. Like, because I like to sing, and for a couple years I wasn't singing, like, because I was so wrapped up in trying to be Miss Perfect for my husband. It was just like I kind of got lost, and then you'll find yourself spiraling into a depression, because it's like I'm not feeling like me. So always continue to do what makes you happy, the things you love. Of course, incorporate him, but you have to definitely put yourself first, and even with the children, because, like, if you're not good, they're not going to be good. So you definitely have to make sure you take time for yourself. Just to even think, sit back, relax, spa day, anything, something that is just for you, I would say. Just to keep, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be good first before anything.
Good stuff. And for the fellas, because I know, again, the fellas look at things a little differently than we do. But from this conversation, it looks like we look at things a lot the same. But what would you guys, Jyron and Jamar, what would you guys tell another man if he's in a relationship and he's struggling to find a way to make sure he takes care of him too, without coming off? Because when people think of self-care, they think they're coming off selfish, or you know what I'm saying? They just they think they're like, this is my family, this is my relationship, this needs to be priority, which is true. But in that priority, you have to make sure that you are too, because if you're not good, you can't take care of your family. You can't take care of your relationship and nourish that. So what would you tell another man? Let's start with Jamar.
So I would just say, do what made you happy before you got into a relationship. It may sound controversial, but me personally, I don't feel like it's your job to make another person happy. That's a strong task. That's a lot to ask of somebody, especially somebody who you're new, relatively new to learning, regardless of how long you've been with somebody. If you're 30 years old, you spent 30 years old inside your body. Now here you come along, and 10 years ago you met somebody. Now it's your job to make them happy. That's a lot. On top of having to go to work 8 to 10 to 12 or 15 hours a day, taking care of your kids at home, making sure things are running right. It's a lot to ask for. So I think you should always stay true to yourself. And if you're going to get into a relationship, be honest. Be honest from the door. Because men think they can be slick. You're not getting nothing past a woman.
Come on, somebody. Preach your word. Preach your word.
You're not going to get it past her. Sooner or later, she's watching. You don't think she's seeing you? That side eye. Jay said, I can feel a side eye in my sleep. That's real talk. Like, just keep it a beam from the door. You don't have any issues. Stay true to yourself. Do what makes you happy. Take time for yourself, like Nicole said. Everybody has the opportunity to decompress. They should anyway. Have the opportunity to decompress. There's a lot going on with the world, us as black people in this country. It's a lot that we have to deal with. So mental health is key. Know yourself. That's big. When I say know yourself, know what makes you tick, what makes you cry, what makes you sick. From a health perspective, know where you are mentality wise, your blood sugar levels, all of that stuff. Because the minute you don't know yourself, especially from a health perspective, you become a burden to somebody else, even though they won't say it. But now they got to take care of you and the family because you're sick. You know what I mean? And especially if it's preventable, do it. So don't procrastinate. Be honest. Do what makes you happy. You should be smooth.
Good stuff. Jai, you got something to add in?
I would just say essentially what Jamar said was just say your non-negotiables up front. Like don't be afraid that they're gonna walk away. Just say what your intentions are from the beginning. I think when you lead, I won't even say a lie. When you lead with something that is untrue or conditional, then you're essentially leading somebody on because you know how you feel and how you think could change. So in order to take care of yourself, literally say these are all of the things that I do. I'm a coach. I'm gonna coach. That's my passion. That's something that I've invested so much of my life into, and I'm good at it. If you're telling me that you don't want me coaching a high school team, or you don't want me going to games, or you don't want me going to workouts, this ain't gonna work. Because if I'm not happy, I'm never gonna be able to make this relationship happy. Because even as I cover things up in the back of my mind, I'm always gonna resent the fact that I had to give up certain things to make you happy, and that's not going to make me happy. And at the end of the day, I'm responsible for me, and I'm responsible for my happiness. So I need to do the best job that I can to take care of myself.
That's good stuff. That was good stuff. This was definitely a good conversation. Listeners, be sure to comment below if you want to join this conversation and give your perspective on this topic. I want to thank my guests yet again for coming on and discussing this. This was a good conversation. Before we go, if any of you have anything going on that you want to let the listeners know, let the listeners know about, this is your opportunity to do so. And I'll make sure that the links are available in the description of this episode to, support my guests, support their businesses. We all doing things. I mean, millennials, we doing a lot of stuff. We got a lot going on. So I'm going to start with Nicole, Sierra. What you got going on, girl?
A lot. So weight loss has been a major key in this past year for me. I lost 50 pounds using all natural products. So that's one thing that I've been pushing heavy is all natural products, detoxing, getting your body right. So my link will definitely be up there. Also, I said, let me get back, because that was a major thing. Let me get back to me. Let me get back to what makes me happy. So I'm definitely doing an EP this year.
Yes.
Put it out. I'm so excited about that because it's like I felt like I lost a part of me. So I'm like, I finally got it back. Let's go. We're going to get this. Me and my children, so I want to teach my children how to be entrepreneurs. So we're starting our natural soap line. My daughter is super excited about that because, she's all girly. She likes the soaps and stuff like that, the bath bomb. So we're going to do that together because I think that's important. I think we need to teach our children how to be their own boss, and not have to worry about working for somebody else. That's important to me. And especially she's 7, so I think that's dope for her. That's about it for now, but I got a lot of things going on, but those are the major key things right now.
Well, we want to definitely wish you nothing but success on your endeavors. I'm going to make sure those links are in the description, so be sure to check that out. Jamar, what you got going on?
Electric Elderberry syrup. So you can reach me, Jamar Shallah, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and just reach out to me. I got mason jars, elderberry syrup, good for you, especially keep your immune system strong, especially during these times right now. Vitamin C pack, so holler at me if you want, to keep your health right and exact. I'm a guy also, I'm just an open wealth. A lot of people that know me, I'm an open wealth of knowledge. I'm big into history. I do a lot of comparative studies on Nile Valley cultures and how they influenced Western, especially from a monotheistic perspective. So feel free to holler at me. I'm an open ear, and I'm here to share.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna make sure that y'all have access to Jamar's Twitter, and you said Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or what? All right, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. His social media is in the description, so you can check him out. Get into that elderberry. You hear some good things about that elderberry. I may have to follow my own advice and check that out and get some of that. Get some of that over here, and cause I gotta keep it together so I could be here for y'all, cause we got some things to talk about. You got something going on, Jyron? No? All right. So this was a success. This is season 1. So I'm still, getting the jitters out. And I really appreciate you guys jumping on with me and coming on with me and agreeing to do this with me. This was a great conversation. I want you all to tune in next Sunday for the next episode of Marie Messages Podcast. Bye.
Thanks for having us, J. Marie.
You're welcome.
Bye now. Peace.